Welcome to another SPbN production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warring forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. Rock will never hide.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is an online world of darkness role-playing community originated in St. Petersburg, Florida, but now spreading its way across the world like Santa's sleigh or like dark tendrils or, however you prefer to the world. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicles set in the city of Tampa Bay, Florida, where the Sept of the Evening Star attempts to combat the forces of the worm, both physically and spiritually. But as you'll find out tonight, we're not just sticking to the Tampa Bay region. No. We are journeying across the country to a completely different location, but we will get into that very shortly. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see listed down below. And if you really like what you see, you should join our community by following the Discord link, where you can join one of over 150 players who are looking for games, starting games, creating games, talking about games, and doing all the game-like things that you would come to expect from a gaming community. So join us by following that Discord link. Now, let's go ahead and introduce the players and guest stars that are making Rage Across Tampa possible this evening. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves, if you please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne, #1 Bateman hater, whatever you want to call me, and I will be playing Aspen Weiss, Philodox of the Silverfangs.
Hi, I'm Nori. I think it's debatable on the #1 Bateman hater. I don't think we're in competition, kind of. Yeah, but anyways, I will be playing Melissa's Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hey everyone, I'm Preston, and I think Bateman's just misunderstood. But I play Jason Dreams and Decay Thorn, Theurge of the Bone Gnar.
Howdy do, how are you? My name is Nick. I will be playing a mystery character, and I don't know who this Bateman is. Seems like a fine enough guy, right?
My name is Knack. I'm also playing a mystery character, and my thoughts on Bateman are deeply private.
As they should be. And I would say that I am a Bateman stan, but I think that has to do with the fact that I created and play him on a regular basis. Anyway, let's get everybody caught up to where we are now. So last week was our Rage Across Christmas special, where we did everything having to do with Christmas, the good, the bad, and the otherwise, as we saw when the pack tried to make some personal connections, have some moments. Jester and Charles actually traveled all the way up to Connecticut, as is Charles' yearly tradition, to visit his parents in the cemetery where they rest. We then saw Jace exchange gifts with Eliza, where he received a very, very special gift, a spirit catcher that contained the spirit of his mentor and former theurge of the Columbus Sept, known as Cat. Cat was able to give him some words of wisdom, and upon discussion, they made an agreement that Cat would bind herself to the cairn in Tampa, therefore becoming a permanent guardian of the area upon Jace's offer / subtle convincing. Then Aspen made a call home to her adoptive mother, mentor, teacher, tutor, Shannon, only to find out that Shannon was uprooting from her home and moving across the country to Florida after receiving a very lucrative teaching offer at the University of South Florida. Suspicions are abound as to how she got this offer and why this specific offer to this specific location that the Guru are banned from accessing due to their treaty with the leeches. And then in the second half, the pack came together to celebrate, to share gifts, to enjoy the merriment of the season. But that would only last so long, as the Banes that had been gathering around the bawn of the cairn finally made their way in, led by the Bane of Christmas, Krampus, who then started to take over the individual members of the pack, turning them into the worst versions of themselves. And we saw with the efforts of Jace that he was able to purge the influence of Krampus on the pack members in enough time for them to cross over into the Umbra and battle the spirit himself. After purging Krampus from the cairn, the Banes that had come along with Krampus also seemed to dissolve and deteriorate, cleansing the area, at least for now. But as we know in Werewolf the Apocalypse, these things only can last so long. Our story tonight begins not in Tampa, but in the town of Morgantown, West Virginia, where Jester, Charles, Sean, and Xander have traveled to entreat with the Sept that makes its home there in Morgantown. The Sept that they need to gain the permission of to access the Shrieking Caverns, which is believed to be a long-forgotten Croatan cairn that collapsed when the last of the Camazotz was killed and the White Bat completely crumbled the entire cairn, trapping itself as well as the few Guru that managed to live there inside for many, many years. So let's get to our story with our first scene. Jester, you have traveled the long and winding road to Morgantown, and as you have made progress along the road, the temperature just continued to descend. While things have been considerably chilly in Florida as of late, that compares nothing to the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, where the temperatures are hovering day and night around 20 to 26 degrees. So as you arrive in the area, it seems that Xander simultaneously grows more comfortable and less comfortable at the same time. While he has been lucid as of late. The closer and closer you get to the mountains, the more and more twitchy Xander seems to get. And when asked about it, it's due to hearing the screams louder and clearer, like the first time he heard them. Eventually, you arrive at the cairn. Now, the cairn itself is located further up a footpath in the mountains where cars can barely reach, and usually only if you know the secret driveways to head up. So instead, you're parked at the base of a trail that will lead up to the cairn itself. And there to greet you at the trail is Trillium, the mentor of Joseph Ashspeaker, a renowned theurge within the cairn. She is a surprisingly younger woman, all things considered, probably hovering around 29 years old, you would guess. She has long hair that is actually behind a woolen stocking cap right now due to the cold temperatures, and she's bundled up in a large overcoat and galoshes and hiking boots. Along with her are two escorts whose names you don't know, but are rather large individuals standing easily a foot or so taller than Trillium herself, and they silently wait about 2 or 3 strides back from her, flanking on either side. As the car comes to a stop, Charles looks over to you. Are you ready?
I think as ready as I'll ever be.
Don't forget, you're not alone. We're here to help. Everything will be adequate.
I'll take adequate. I'll climb out of the car.
Charles opens his door, and then the 2 back doors open as Sean makes his way out, using his one arm to pull himself out of the vehicle before closing the door. And Xander, more hesitantly, opens the door, but the door is almost like shaking as he's opening it, as he can't seem to steady his hands. But eventually the 4 of you emerge from the vehicle and go to approach the waiting party. Trillium presents the warmest smile despite the frigid temperatures. You can even see her cheeks are a little bit rosier, even underneath the scarf that she has wrapped around her neck. And she says, "Welcome to Morgantown. Good to see you, Jester."
Hi, Trillium. It's good to see you as well. This is Charles, Sean, and Xander.
I was gonna say, you brought quite the entourage with you.
Oh, Sean was in Michigan, so he could speak on what happened there. Charles came for us as an escort, and Xander's a little more complicated. I actually wanted to talk to you about that before we entered the cairn.
That's probably for the best. You can see that the 2 individuals standing behind her have locked their focus on Xander and have actually stepped a foot or 2 closer to Trillium, taking a very defensive position. Well?
So, a couple months back, due to some issues, I came across Xander in the Umbra. He had kidnapped one of our pack under a belief that it was his fault that Xander had changed. Except I'll look at the 2 defending or in the defensive stances, I'm guessing you know he's not a Garu.
No, there was a distinct difference in the smell once you all emerged from the vehicles. What have you brought us, Jester?
Xander's a Camazotz. He's only changed in January. He barely knows what was happening to him and was alone.
My dear, I'm wondering if you're putting us on. The Camazotz are extinct. Have been for generations.
They were until January. We think it might be something connected to the cairn we've recently opened. It is a Croatan cairn. Or was a Croatan cairn. And it's had interesting effects. And it coincides with the time that he claims he was changed. Remember when I said I was on a spirit quest?
Yes?
Trying to give him a chance as my spirit quest. But he's plagued. Tortured.
This does complicate things a bit. I can likely smooth them over to a certain degree, but you understand, as far as we're aware, you are bringing a mythical creature that is potentially under the control or corruption of the worm. If they are, in fact, a Camazotz, their patron being the patron or a patron of the worm.
Yes. I am aware of that. If you want, we could wait to see if...
I don't think that'll be necessary. But... And she looks towards Xander with a kind of empathetic but also pitying look. I'm sorry, my friend, you're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable for this part, but we'll try to get that all taken care of as soon as possible. Xander, with wide, shifty eyes, kind of looks to you. What do they mean by that?
What? Can you explain to me what you're going to do so I can explain to him and he doesn't freak out?
Well, he'll have to be restrained and probably blindfolded, to be completely honest. We don't know what kind of hold the worm has on him, and bringing such an individual up to the cairn is exposing ourselves, making us quite vulnerable to anything he may see or hear while up there.
We'll go to him. Okay, so they're gonna blindfold you and probably restrain you. If you want, I can do it.
He has the same kind of exasperated look on his face as he looks to them, then to you, then to them. Charles, kind of offhandedly off to the side. I wanted to blindfold and gag him, but you wouldn't let me.
I'm going to ignore Charles and look to Xander and just be like, we're entering somebody else's territory. They aren't sure about you. They need to protect it. That other voice that you hear, the one I tell you is not your friend, could use it against them.
Okay. How long are we going to be here? I don't like it here. Very loud.
It might get louder. We're going to try to fix that so it stops.
Okay. Do what you gotta do. At this point, one of the two escorts steps forward and they reach into a side sack with gloves on and pull out shackles for the wrists and ankles. As you look at the shackles, you immediately intuit that these are not normal shackles. From the glint of the metal shining off of them, and by the way they're being handled, these are silver chains and shackles. They also pull out a hood to go over the head. It seems like it's got an opening for the mouth, enough to breathe, but it will obscure sight and sound otherwise. Almost like the hood you'd put on a falcon.
Okay. I'll hold my hand out and take the shackles.
As you touch the shackles, your skin starts to itch. It doesn't burn, as you are in your Hamid form, so it wouldn't have any detrimental effects unless you were to be pierced or stabbed or cut. But it doesn't feel comfortable, and you get the feeling that if Xander has the same issues, he is going to be very uncomfortable wearing these, probably the entire time.
If I move it towards like cloth, will it still be the same? Is there still tingling or uncomfortable, or?
If you have the cloth touching it, it's not as bad, but you can definitely tell it's there if it's in your grasp. You definitely get a sense of it, a feel of it, but it doesn't have that same irritating itch.
Okay. I'll look at him. This might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to try to make it more. I'm going to try to like make sure that when I like shackle it, it's around cloth so it's not touching his skin.
Okay. As you attach the shackles on his wrist and the long chain dangling down to his ankles, he accepts it, but you can see that his eyes are downcast and he is not enjoying this experience whatsoever. But once the shackles are firmly attached, you take the hood and place it over his head. And after a moment of the hood being secured over his head, he just starts looking around in all directions as if he is completely nullified all of his senses. He can't see, he can't hear.
Okay.
He's just staring.
I will keep a hand like on him and just tap gently and then move it to his shoulder.
Trillium watches the entire exchange with the same, a little bit sad look on her face, the same empathetic look due to the suffering that's being incurred. She then says, "My friends here are going to take him to a secure location up in the Cairn. You can come with us and you'll see that he is perfectly fine and well tended to, but we need to make sure that he is put in a place where he's secure for the time being. I hope you understand."
I'll look to Charles.
I think that's
Okay.
acceptable. I'll make sure that he is as comfortable as he can be.
I'll give Charles a look.
All right, better than I would consider.
Okay.
Charles actually places a hand on Xander's shoulder as well and begins to lead him up to where he meets the two escorts. And the four of them end up starting the journey up the path. John steps up next to you and leans in close. The right thing to do. You know this. This is their home. They have to feel comfortable if they're going to open their minds to what you're proposing.
I know.
Trillium, staying behind with you, says, "Are you ready?"
Yeah. How many am I meeting with? Are you part of the elders as well?
While I am a elder guru by all the local standards, I will not be a part of this tribunal. We are taking 3 of the elders, including Mountain Claw himself, to speak on this, as I am considered a affected and potentially biased party. I decided to withhold my voice on the council, but if I need to speak up, I will. I won't let them completely bully you around.
That's good to know. Tribunal sounds so formal.
Well, there's a lot to discuss, and what you're proposing, what your idea is controversial, to say the least. It's gotten the attention, in fact, of the tender of the Shrieking Caverns himself. He is coming to take part in the tribunal, as he has been watching over the caverns for some time, ensuring that nobody attempts to go snooping where they should.
What's he like?
Well, he's a lupus born, so
Okay.
that comes with all the bells and whistles of a lupus born, but he has been a part of our society for quite some time. So he is not going to have the ignorance you would suspect of more recently turned lupus born. He knows a great deal, but he prefers his original form and tends to stick to it as much as possible, and will only speak if he absolutely feels the urge to.
Good to know.
And then, of course, you've met Mountain Claw, our wonderful leader, also a man of very few words and prefers to speak to actions. I wouldn't expect to hear much from him. And then the third is one of our elder theurges, the keeper of the land, Mist O'er the Hill. He is at times a curious sort, very much in touch with the spirits and all of the responsibilities of a theurge, but he cares a great deal for this land, as his title dictates. He will be one hard to convince if what you're proposing could bring a risk to the matter, especially a risk to the land and the Guru who live here.
Hey, I'll stop as we're walking and turn to face her. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what happened to you and Joseph and Mountain Claw. Because of us.
I thank you for that. But it's really not necessary. Now I know the effects these things tend to have on those who have participated in the opening of a cairn, but that's a risk we all face every time we open a cairn. There's a possibility that it could be destroyed by the forces that oppose us. In a way, we know what we're signing up for when we agree to such a right.
Yeah.
I will have to assume, and do assume, that it was for the best reasoning and intentions that it happened.
There were good reasonings and intentions.
That's
I
enough
think
for
we've
me.
also. We realized we could have handled it better, though.
Hindsight's 20/20, as they say. truth, while the others may take umbrage with what happened, you'll get no ill will from me. I understand the risk. I understand the reasoning. This is a difficult fight, a long one. If we were to get caught up in every mistake, in every minor detail, we'd be spending all of our time tending to that, not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We endure, we move on.
I mostly agree. As long as we learn from the mistakes we make.
Well, I would hope so. I don't want to hear about you sacrificing no more cans if you don't have to.
I don't think that's going to happen again with us.
Well, let's hope not. She continues to walk. As you climb this trail, you find yourself following a very narrow path through the snow. It seems like it's almost been carved out in single file by the individuals who've walked it. Now, normally, a hiking trail like this might take 25 minutes to get to its locale, but because of the weather, because of the temperature and the snow on the ground, it's taking a little bit longer, and you're finding yourself having to pause in some icy patches. But eventually, you reach what is the cairn, and what you find is like a pioneer village. A lot of erected cottages made out of wood and whatever stone can be gathered. There's very few manufactured materials in the creation of this particular cairn. They've taken a great deal of effort to DIY a good majority of the surroundings, showing the homesteader-esque nature that they participate in. There is a large central fire, which is currently burning and helping provide heat to the surrounding area. In fact, it's providing a great deal more heat than you would expect such a blaze to create. However, it is still very contained, even with the trees looming overhead and the mountain off in the distance. You can tell that this fire will never spread into an uncontrollable blaze, that the fire in its own right is somehow disciplined. Looking off to one of the cabins on the other side, you can see Charles is talking with the two other escorts, and Xander clearly has already been brought inside as the door is being closed and locked behind them. You look like you haven't eaten, Trillium says. Why don't we have a meal together, and then the tribunal will begin. Does that sound amenable?
I will give one last look at the cabin where Xander is, silently really hoping that things go well and they don't decide to off him when I don't have a chance to, like, protect him. And I'll just look back at her and nod with a smile. Yeah, that would be good.
You're taken into another cabin, which is clearly Trillium's cabin. As you can see, despite the rustic nature of it, there are some artistic details added, including some garlands that string across the top of the ceiling. There are several ritualistic implements that are all spread out, but the table in the room has been prepared already for guests. You can see placemats are laid out that have clearly been hand woven together, that there are wooden bowls that have been clearly carved. The silverware, however, is still metal and looks like it was purchased. The meal that you have is possibly one of the most earthy and rustic meals you've had before. Fresh meat hunted from the mountain itself. There's a mixture of goat meat as well as possibly mountain lion meat or cougar meat. There are a selection of fresh seasonal vegetables, including certain winter squashes. It's a filling meal, but as you're thinking about what's to come, you find yourself mostly picking at it, grazing, if you will, as the tightness in your stomach and chest takes away the true desire to feast as you would. But as the meal progresses, the light in the horizon starts to get darker and dimmer, and you can see that flamed lanterns with candles are being lit in the building and outside. After a little while longer, Trillium looks to you with a smile. It's gonna be all right. The worst thing they can say is no.
Look to the cabin, but is that the worst thing they can do?
No, I suppose it's not. But what I can tell you is I won't let any harm come to your friend.
That
If
makes
we
it-
have to, we will have to remove him from the premises and send you all away. But I won't let him get hurt.
Thanks. That helps a little bit.
We are all Gaia's creatures. I think that sometimes the Guru forget that. But we have to remind ourselves they turned for a reason also. And while this is the strangest case of a recent turning that I've heard of, it must be for a reason.
Indeed.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
She smiles and stands up before heading towards the doorway and stepping outside. As you pass through the doorway outside, you can see a crowd has already started to gather around the fire. Members of the Sept have emerged, some in lupus form, others dressed in winter survival gear. They're all nearing the edge of the fire, warming themselves by it. But across the fire, on the other side, there is a noticeable space left open on that side of the fire. There, 3 stools made out of logs sit, awaiting the tribunal. From another cabin across the way, the door opens and 3 individuals make their way out. One you immediately recognize as Mountain Claw, as he stands almost 7 feet tall, not in any kind of supernatural form, in base Hamid form. He is made of a stacked set of muscles, but also scars. Scars on his face, on his arms. And even though the temperature is extremely frigid, he wears a vest made out of fur over his chest, nothing on his arms or hands. And even with his short cropped hair, he doesn't wear a hat. And as he walks through the snow, he is wearing probably burlap woven pants that come down to bare feet, even in the snow as he approaches. Next to him are 2 others, a lupus formed and a Hamid formed Guru. Starting with Mist, let's go ahead and describe yourselves.
Yeah. Second in line. It's hard to picture what such a rough and tumble community might produce as far as physical bodies, but of the Garu present, the human before you seems to be the most dweebish looking, definitely a bit slimmer than most of the other people, and yet there is that sort of like taut muscle, like a hiker physique. He is sort of dressed in a bit of like flannel, very like outdoorsy, with heavy padded jeans and hiking boots, but otherwise you just see sort of like this sun-worn olive complexion, this tossed back brown hair that probably hasn't seen a pair of scissors in several months, and most pronouncedly he has sort of like this crooked bent to a nose and these sort of off-put oblong ears, and as he stares at you, you get the immediate sight of someone who is just sort of looking beyond perpetually.
And then Shepard.
The lupus that joins the trio last walks out, surveying the surroundings, and this is a red wolf, a little bit more southern than might be expected by the rest of the cairn, but marred with several scars that leave deep, empty spaces where fur should be, and a face that, if you could imagine a wolf scowling, has these hazel eyes which are skeptical already, walking around and sort of moving a little bit faster than Mountain Claw and Mist as they walk, but moving back and around them, and a serpentine pattern as they approach the 3 places that they're going to set.
As Mountain Claw approaches, he reaches the center stool, and when he speaks with one of the most thickly accented, unintelligible voices, as he said, "Right now, this caller is trying to order." Trillium gives a smile and brings you and Sean forward. Charles eventually joins the group, following behind. Honored Tribunal, thank you for meeting with us this evening. I'd like to present our Sept leader, Mountain Claw, our keeper of the land, Mist o'er the hill, and our tender, Shepherd Hunter. They will be making up the tribunal this evening, and they have a lot to discuss with you. Tribunal, if you please. Mountain Claw lets out just a grunt under his breath before looking over to Mist. Now, Mist, you have been on many councils with Mountain Claw. He says as little as possible in any of these meetings. He will usually call the meeting to order and then end the meeting. And everything that happens in between is other guru talking, back and forth, maybe arguing over a topic in the case of a challenge or a debate. And he leaves a lot of the proceedings to you when you are on the tribunal, or Trillium if she is. But the floor is yours.
As our resident Arun gives the gruff initiation of this sort of ceremony, Mist over the hill will sort of sit up in his seat, and rather than stand up, he will merely hold up a hand as if calling any to attention before speaking. I, Mist over the hill, born under the crescent moon of Luna, who answers the eternal gaze of Owl, do hereby welcome you, members of the Floridian Sept.
Looking around, Charles seems completely comfortable in this situation as he stands proudly, his chest kind of thrust out a little bit, taking a very Silver Fang appeal. And yes, even in the harsh winter, he is still wearing a full suit and tie, but has a heavy wool overcoat over his suit. And he looks towards Jester with a very flat face or flat expression, but Jester, having been around Charles enough, you can see the small glint of enjoyment and familiarity in his eye to the proceedings. John, on the other side, stands fairly comfortably. He also seems aware of these types of proceedings, but you can see a little bit less appreciation for it on his face, as it seems overly formal in this particular instance. Trillium looks to you, Jester, and kind of with a hand points you forward.
I will step forward and give a short little bow of my head. Honored Tribunal, I thank you for welcoming me and my Sept. I am called Malicious Jester, a galliard of the Black Furies from the Sept of the Evening Star. This is Charles Albrecht, our worm foe.
Charles steps forward just a little bit and gives a respectful dip of his head, maybe more of like a half nod, and then steps back.
This is Sean, a Black Fury Theurge. He is a guest from the Sept of Hell, Michigan, and he came to give a first-hand account of what had happened to his Sept as well as others in a mine in Michigan a few months ago.
As you bring up Michigan, some murmurs start throughout the other assembled Guru in the area, but are quickly silenced. Mountain Claw jabs a stick into the fire, sending some sparks going up into the air. Draw wickedness to our door, Jester.
He's not wicked yet. There is a chance to save him. I have come on that chance. The litany says we're supposed to combat the worm, and most of us combat it with tooth and claw and sword. But there are other ways to combat it. And taking a potential soldier from them and turning it to us is a good way to combat it as well.
Mountain Claw gives an affirming grunt before looking over towards Mist again.
Mist will immediately take the opportunity to be testing in that conviction and go, it is not a small thing to hear galliards speak of such. How many songs are told of the worm's influence? How it offers change and peace, when in reality it merely brings corruption.
There are not many tales told that. There are many tales told of its corruption, yes, but not bringing peace. And trust me, he is not at peace. He is tortured.
At this
But-
point, the wolf hops up over the stair or the chair, this log, and begins to walk around Jester's group, slowly pacing and looking them over up and down, listening as Mist handles the conversation, but observing them very closely.
I'll glance down at him pacing and then turn back to Mist and Mountain Claw. This is not about thinking he's peaceful. I am very aware that he has the potential to cause a huge mess, to hurt my cairn, my pack. But no one has given him a chance. He was alone when he changed. All he had was the voice of Bat, the worm, trying to turn him. And he still fought against it. He still felt guilt at what his change brought him. If we just throw away the chances out of fear of what could happen, we're giving up on a lot of people. And we
Mist
don't
will-
really have that. We don't have that leeway, really.
Mist will have this moment as he seems immediately conflicted about something before returning as hard of a gaze he can to Jester and saying plainly, "You are Galliard. Can you sing of this Kamazotz's troubles? Convince our hearts, then, that what he needs is guidance, and not Gaia's fury."
Sure. Sander was a man of... He was a family man. He had 3 children and a wife. He cared for his family very much. He took them to carnivals and laughed with them and shared joy with his family. He provided for them, as most humans do, to be able to survive. And then, without warning, he heard screams, terrible screams, that filled his head and wouldn't stop. And from he said, everything went black, foggy. But he remembers some of it, and he remembers being unable to stop while he killed his children and his wife. And when he came back to himself, there was guilt and pain and loss. And the screaming remained, as did another voice. A voice that told him it was his friend, his only friend, the only one he could trust. And that voice led him deep into the Umbra, to a cave that it swore he would be safe from all the things that wanted to kill him. Because there were big bad wolves in the world that wanted to murder him just for what he was. And they convinced him that my Sept, the Sept of the Evening Star, was responsible for everything that happens to him. And we would come murder him. And so he had to strike first. And they pointed out a pack member who was a Shadow Lord and said he was at fault for the eradication of his entire people. And so Sander kidnapped him and took him to his cave. And I followed with one of my other pack mates. See, I knew about Sander before, or of him, because my pack patron a loon named Star had given me a quest to try and save him, redeem him, you could say. Give him a second chance, or even give him any chance. So I knew where I was going when we found out it was a bat. And when we arrived, I talked to him. I asked for his story, and he told me some of it, but he was convinced that I was there to kill him. Eventually we talked, and he agreed to come with me. That we would try to find a way to help him.
At this point, Mountain Claw kind of takes a long sniff in and then cocks a loogie towards the fire. What's this guy do with us?
We think the screaming he hears is actually a spirit known as White Bat. There's a connection between my cairn and we believe what could have been a cairn in the place you call the Shrieking Cavern a long time ago. We believe it is a Croton cairn, but we believe the Shrieking, if we can find White Bat, we believe she's trapped. She might be able to provide a stronger voice than that of the worm for him. An anchor.
At word of that, Mist will immediately become bewildered, staring into the fire for a moment, as if recalling something before casting a very harsh gaze at Shepherd Hunter.
The gaze is returned in kind, and at that point a heavy exhale of disapproval towards Jester before slowly the wolf walks over and perches up on the seat with the other two.
At this point, Mountain Claw looks over towards Shepherd for a moment and then looks ahead. Ghosts haunt that cavern. The one haunts that cavern. There's a reason we don't go there. What makes you so sure this is going to do any good?
I have spoken with several theurges and elders and ancestors, and all the leads point to that cavern and White Bat.
You know, you ain't just letting something out. Something that's talking to him, calling to him.
Mist will actually lean over and try to whisper something in Mountain Claw, but obviously a bit more audible as he goes. The land has been disturbed ever since the quakes began. I don't know exactly if this is some grand deceit, but if Jester here is indeed searching for White Bat, that lair of worm taint might be hiding a true spirit.
Or that spirit might be dead. Gone. Myth. The worm working deceit and lie.
The My Cairn is a old Morgantown Cairn we found and were able to reawaken. It has a connection, I think, with other dormant Morgantown Cairns that may still exist. It has a strong connections to the ancestors, and the ancestors showed me White Bat, the spirit of the Cairn here, being trapped in that cave. And from what I understand, the screams that you hear or have been hearing are very similar to the screams he hears. A shriek, like a bat shriek.
Mountain Claw lets out a low, raspy mix between a growl and a kind of like a chuckle. You can.
Yes.
Y'all always do what them spirits tell you, don't you? Like destroy. We helped build. Maybe you
That was-
listening to the wrong spirits, girl.
On that particular spirit, we were offered a choice to sacrifice something important to us that had strong ties to the Weaver, or for Tampa to be devastated by hurricane after hurricane. And not just the city and the buildings, but the preserves we have, the last bits of the wild. Would be devastated and wrecked as well.
What's so worth preserving there? What's so worth preserving that you couldn't warn us? Couldn't talk to us? That you would
That-
wound us?
That was our mistake, and I am sincerely sorry that we did not reach out and communicate with you when we should have.
In this moment, does Mist find this apology sincere?
I would say absolutely. I don't think she needs to even roll anything. She has felt a consistent way about it ever since it happened. But also, Jester, you felt a helplessness as you weren't really a part of that decision. You weren't really a part. You were incapacitated at that time. So what does Jester feel as she apologizes? What's going through her mind?
She feels She is being sincere about not reaching out. She feels guilt, even if she wasn't there or she was incapacitated at the time. She still feels guilty for not being there and not pushing harder for more communication to everybody involved. Still, she feels like that was a mistake on our part, even hers.
Hearing the apology and looking towards Mist, what does Shepard see on Mist's face?
I think Mist in this moment is beginning to lower a lot of the initial assumptions and obstacles to these newcomers. And he is looking increasingly like he's about to plead for them to be allowed to enter the cave to Mountain Claw. And as he spies you for a moment, there is this keenness of looking back at you and going, oh, so now you're interested, huh?
Reacting as that is seen by Shepard, he lurches forward off of the seat and he shifts forms into Glabro, taking on this humanoid shape that is bigger and fiercer than most humans and has great tufts of fur that wrap around his head in one solid structure, and the hair that rolls down the back of his neck completely joins with the fur that is on his back, and it's all hidden by what appears to be a heavy looking coat that might have once run down to his ankles but has since been torn and shredded below the knees. And he drops down onto his hands before he leans up, looking to Jester and saying, "We hear your apology. We understand that you are sorry. But have you learned anything?"
Learned a lot. I've learned. At least I try to enact it. I'm here now asking for permission to do something that I know could affect all of you.
Yes, you seek permission to hold that which is ours and sacred.
I don't wish to hold anything. I wish to help two entities, two people, two beings, a spirit, and a man that has no idea what he is in for.
A great task for someone who has not stood up to such things in the past. What have you done that speaks to your ability to do this?
I found a tear of Gaia.
You
know, the thing.
found a tear.
Well, I sought it. I went on a quest with my pack. We fought a starving remnant who held it.
Do you have such a tear now to help redeem not one, but two fallen?
No, I had to use it to redeem a different one who had fallen to Harano.
So to bring back a weakling from Harano, you needed an artifact, a tear of our goddess, but now you come empty-handed to solve two great problems, greater than that of which you speak.
Why do you think Harano is weak, or someone falling to Harano is weak?
To give in to despair is to forget why we exist.
Except that we are constantly bombarded with pain and loss all the time. Looking at people who fall to Rano or Hoglosk, our people who fall to that as weak, is a terrible way to think of it. It's how we lose so many of our kind. It's how many of us don't survive past the age of 25, much less your venerated ages. You must have seen much to have survived this long, but many of us don't, and it's because we don't care for our own. And we look on their losses as weaknesses. They're too weak. They weren't strong enough to withstand. We need every person we can get in this war. And constantly looking down on the ones who are faltering instead of trying to give them a hand is short-sighted. I'm sorry. I apologize. But
Mist
I don't
will
believe falling Toronto is weak.
Mist will interject to take a jab and go, Shepherd Hunter, Luna's half-moon chosen. It's obvious that the ways of strength are all you care about in the determining of judgment. You can see here her affairs with the spirit have made her strong and guided her here for this.
Perhaps. And the red fur on his form bristles as he looks back to Jester, returning the gaze once he's done referring to Mist, and he says, "You cling to life, you speak of saving, and you speak of every extra you can bring along, every additional you can summon. We will die in service to Gaia. We will honor that sacrifice. Do not cling so desperately to that which is yours to pay."
Death is of the worm. The litany says we combat the worm. Trying to save people is combating the worm.
At this, Shepard sort of cocks his head some, looks around, not quite looking at Jester. He doesn't accept or nod or show any other sign of approval, but he continues and says, "We have chosen to make this place barred, off limits, to be kept and not entered. To enter is to risk us all, and you know this. Why would we risk the many to save one, two perhaps, if that is your argument?"
Perhaps you could tell me more about your cave.
It is filled with evil. Great, powerful evil. The kind that drives our elders mad in its presence. You do not ask to simply venture into the Umbra to collect a artifact guarded by one monster. You ask to go to a place that none of us risk trekking.
Shrieking, right?
Yes, the Shrieking. The Shrieking you followed here, like a blind sheep to the slaughter.
A shrieking, Mist will add, that has but recently changed. Surely we cannot let it fester in the earth forever until the apocalypse takes us.
It changes because the apocalypse has taken. It changes because every day it grows and its power will continue, and our lot is to stop it in any way we can, not to free it in hopes we can arm ourselves with it.
Well, dear Shepherd Hunter, I think then perhaps you will have to be with Jester here to ensure that she does not do anything to unearth the worm that lies within there. After all, as far as I am concerned, she has been guided here by the spirits, and I will do everything I can to ensure the spirits are satisfied, including joining her. And with that, he gives a solemn nod and looks to Mountain Claw as I approve.
I look back and forth as they're talking, confused for a moment. Wait, White Bat's not a Bane or a worm spirit. White Bat should be just probably a Gaian spirit, a nature spirit. She shouldn't be corrupted. She's trapped.
So
she
you
might be trapped
believe.
with Banes, but I don't have irrefutable proof, no.
There is something to consider when it comes to spirits. The Triad are, in their essences, eternal polars to each other. But even the most fervent aligned of one of the spirits, be it Gaian or Weaver, Wild or Worm, they contain with them fragments of multitude. If White Bat is indeed one of Gaia, having such proximity to Banes, to the worm's influence, has undoubtedly affected it, and she might need notable assistance to be freed of that darkness.
At this point, Shepard growls frustrated, clearly upset that he's not gaining the ground he hoped to. And as he speaks, that gruff voice is difficult to get out. Obviously, this form is not the best choice for him to be in while he continues this debate. He looks back to Jester and he says, I will have to venture with you. And so if we will walk shoulder to shoulder, I must ask you, what cannot be saved?
Would you like a list? I mean, there
Name
is
some.
Banes. Let's just be real. Like, we don't have a way to save them. Mostly we can kill them and send them back to the spirit wilds till they return. Unless we can figure out how to uncorrupt the worm, but that is a huge task that I don't know if we're even close to doing. Most vampires, pretty much all vampires, billionaires, corrupt politicians, those who hurt people out of pleasure and trod on the weak out of pleasure of torturing them, those who create injustices and don't try to fix them.
Very well. You speak of the obvious, the clear. This one you bring with you, this myth that you bring to our door. What will it take for you to end it? If presented the need, how far would it have to go before you agreed? You decided that it was over, that no saving could be done.
I'm going to tell you a story. So bear with me for a moment. It'll make sense in the end. I was in love once. He was human. No idea what I was, of course, but he had this really beautiful way of looking at the world that made it feel like it was worth fighting for. And then vampires got to him. And they turned his mind, made him believe all kinds of things that weren't true. Till he didn't know what his real personality and who he was anymore. And then they turned him to thrall, ghoul, fed him his blood, got him addicted, and sent him to spy on us. We found him when he tried to assassinate 2 of us. We captured him. I had a hope, maybe for a few weeks, of saving him. He was too far gone. So I executed him. If you think I won't do it for this one, just because I want to give him a chance, if I find that he is dangerous or he is close to hurting innocent people, I can do it. I have to do it. Either I'm his savior or his executioner.
You speak of chance and of hope, and your story proves you are capable of such a thing. But you have left out the why. When was the moment you looked into your lover's eyes and knew he could not be brought back?
There wasn't one moment. There was many moments. But the final moment was when I held the sword and looked at him and listened to him talk to me and realized that was not my lover. That was what the vampire had created.
So then every shred of what it was must be gone. All hope must be gone before you are willing to make such a sacrifice.
Not all hope.
You have done difficult things. You have failed, as we all have in our time. You say sorry, and your pack spreads this forgiveness for itself. If this fails, will you say you went in with the best intentions? Will you say it was the right thing to do at the time? Or will you admit you were wrong if this fails?
I'll probably say I was wrong.
At that point, Shepard looks back to Mountain Claw and to Mist, and a very curt nod before shifting down into Lupus, climbing back up onto the seat and resting.
Mountain Claw, who's been quiet this whole time, primarily staring at the fire, brings his eyes up to make eye contact with you, Jester. And as you look into his eyes, you see a kind of hardness to his eyes of a life of struggle, of loss, of pain, but also endurance. This is twice now that your Sept has come calling on us, wanting something. What do you have to give? Because the last thing you gave us was pain.
We will offer aid. We can offer legal aid. We can offer technical aid in times that many of you may need it. I know up here you probably don't have a lot of issues, but then again, there's always those moments that you never predict. Also, if that cavern is a dormant Croatan cairn, it may be one of the last places that might truly be connected to Gaia, and that could potentially provide power to your Sept.
Mist will pipe in and go, And you would allow us to keep it then? You seek only white bat, not claims on this forgotten cairn?
No. We have enough to deal with in Tampa. And there are not many of us that would spread us way too thin. No, this is your territory.
At this point, Trillium steps up next to Jester, putting a hand on her arm. They also come with a warning, information, something that might be very necessary for you to hear, good tribunal, if what she says is true, which I have no reason to believe otherwise. She then looks to Jester.
Yes. This sort of... This is connected to things we are dealing with in Tampa. We have an issue with a Pentex group. They have been spreading these plants that cause infection and cause mutation in people and animals to where they become part mushroom and part of a collective that is controlled by these agents working for Pentex. During that time, we had found a way to destroy the plants was based in cold iron. So we had reached out to a Sept in Michigan, the Hell Sept, to try to gain access to a mine and provide enough iron for us to be able to destroy these plants. They agreed. I'll look over at Sean and smile. And joined with 2 other Septs in Wisconsin and Ohio to raid the mine in order to get enough iron or gain control of it. I think the plan afterward was to close the mine itself. Unfortunately, they were ambushed in their raid of the mine. They were ambushed by Black Spiral Dancers. From what I understand, it was a great force, greater than it's been seen in a while. They outnumbered them.
At this point, murmurs break out amongst the other Guru assembled. One of them calls out, "First bats, now forgotten spirits, now dancers? This girl only tells fairy tales. How can we believe any of this?"
Hold up a hand and go, quiet, quiet.
I will cough. Sean and another managed to escape the attack and got back to us with the news. He agreed to come along to give a first-hand account of what happened.
At this point, Sean steps forward and, looking upon him with his one remaining arm, his graying beard and hair. "Yes, I was there. We were asked by the Sept from Florida to assist in gathering iron. All of this is true." We all gathered our numbers not just to ensure the success of the effort, but to ensure that it was handled appropriately, with as minimal damage to Gaia as possible, as these mines have dug deep into her flesh, taken from her. And while this idea, this plan would take more, it would take more to ensure Gaia's survival, to ensure the stopping of a violent spread of worm-corrupted wild beings. We thought we had prepared. We thought we had brought everything we needed, and at the beginning of the battle, we were doing well. But there was something wrong in the attack. We were unable to heal. We were unable to use Gaia's most important gift, the ability to sustain ourselves. Lo and behold, as the battle was raging, we heard howls. And the cavern we were in, the pit we were in, was swarmed. We only came to find out later that we had been deceived by one of our own. An agent working for the worm, perhaps even a dancer themselves. The one who we had put all of our faith in to scout out this particular endeavor in advance. They walked us right into a trap. And while you think many of the things you heard this evening were fantastical, believe me when I tell you, there were more dancers than I had ever thought possible. Dozens, possibly more than 100. They left almost no one alive, and if it wasn't for a Sept mate of mine, a mentor to the Tampa Sept, by the name of Stakes Her Claim, I would have been one of them. And if it weren't for the efforts of the Tampa Sept in establishing a moon bridge, we wouldn't have been able to escape. We are lucky to be alive. And if the dancers are mounting a force in that number, it can only mean one thing. Perhaps the apocalypse is upon us now. And while we fight amongst ourselves over trivial matters such as territory and laws and spirit patrons, they are united, unquestioningly. They follow one leader and will do whatever is asked of them without question. The cave isn't what you should be worried about. What you should be worried about is the force that is mounting and moving and destroying. 3 Septs gone in a matter of minutes. Shouldn't have your eyes focused solely here. You need to look further because they are on their way. And where they'll strike next, we can't say. It's like a ghost, they vanished. But if we let our guard down, if we believe all is well, that is when they will hit us again. And we will lose. While I also had my feelings about this Amazons and coming here to look into these spirits, we need all the help we can get. Because even as many Guru are assembled here, they don't stand a chance unless we work together, unless we find common ground. I too, like you, was skeptical of the Sept forming in Tampa. I was skeptical that they were trotting upon the bones of failures who had come before, were unable to defend that land. But what I saw what I've experienced, what I've been witness to, is something extraordinary, unusual, but extraordinary. And while you may remember them as reckless and young guru from years ago, they are no longer that. They have grown, they have learned, they have changed, and they have gone against every task they've been given, including one I thought personally impossible. And they have succeeded. They are making Guru better. They are finding a way to unite us in a time when we are more shattered than ever. Backing them is the right play, the only play. Or else you could be next. And I don't mean that as a threat. I mean that as a premonition, a spoiler of what's to come. Should you resist? Should you ignore? It certainly happened to us. And almost absently, he reaches up and touches where his other arm ends, up on the shoulder. Don't let it happen to you.
Inside, I feel a little heartwarmed that he is behind us so much so soon. But I'll give a smile, but look up to them.
Mist will sort of rub at the side of a bit of his face scraggle before looking over to Mountain Claw and Shepherd Hunter for their opinion.
Mountain Claw hasn't taken his eyes off of Jester through the entire conversation, through Sean's entire speech. He's just remained locked on her. He looks towards Shepherd Hunter, and in a way, Guru are able to communicate even with those in their lupus form. He asks for an opinion.
Shepherd returns Mountain Claw's gaze and conveys a simple message. If she is to fail, I will be there to stop it from being worse. Perhaps this time she will learn.
He nods, stabbing the stick into the fire, sending a plume of sparks up into the air. He returns his gaze to Jester. We'll open the way to you. These two will go with you. Nothing else. Just stop whatever it is you may unleash upon us. As for this coming fight, I hope you're right. Because if you're wrong, you are only spreading fear. Panic.
I understand. But I felt he should be warned either way.
You're gonna take the bat with you.
think he needs to be there. He might actually help maybe get us through some of the shrieking.
If you ain't gonna do it, Shepard will, if necessary.
Okay. I understand. He won't need to, but I understand.
Careful of who and what you trust, little girl. What voices you listen to. Because while they may sound like friend, they may actually be preparing you for something worse. Serving you up.
Those are wise words.
He then stabs the stick into the fire and stands up from the stool. He looks towards Mist and then Shepard. Give them a day to rest, then y'all set out.
Very well. Mist will hold up a hand and, in the same sort of announcement tone, basically close the official proceedings of the tribunal, allowing the rest of the Sept to go about their business.
Mountain Claw turns and moves back towards the cabin, not saying another word. Trillium looks to you, Jester, with a smile and takes one of your hands in both of hers and says, "You did a really good job. And thank you for the warning. I'm going to talk to Sean here about more of the details to make sure that we know everything we can. Mountain Claw's not the best for getting those details."
Thanks. One more thing, and I'll I'll unzip my giant ski coat and pull out the petition that Aspen gave me and be like, I didn't bring this up because it didn't seem as pertinent, but is there anybody who'd be willing to sign a petition against a Pentex organization?
She takes the papers from you. I'll see them signed. You just focus on the very, very potentially dangerous mission and not unleashing hell on earth if you can.
Thanks. Do you have a galliard that I could talk to that has some tales about that? Shepard
Yes.
was very... Shepard's sleep was born. I need some more details than he'd probably be willing to provide.
There are stories, but few and far between. That place, much like our war form, has a tendency to disorient even us, and clouds what we think we saw, what we experienced. So, details are hazy, to say the least. But I will see to the petition. I will gather what stories I can for you. And I have a place already made up for you and your companions to rest in.
Okay. Thank you.
As for Xander, your friend, he will have to stay as our special guest until the time that you set out, just for safety and security. I hope you understand.
I understand. Can I go talk to him?
Of course. She leads you over towards the cabin, where there are the same two kind of guards, escorts, standing by the door. But as they see Trillium approach, they lean over and open the door to the inside. Inside, you hear the clattering of chains and rustling around. But as you enter in, you can see that a single lamp is lit on a far side of the room. Then on the opposite side is Xander in a cell with bars. There's enough room for him to lay down and possibly move around a little bit. but he is certainly contained.
Take a deep breath. Know why they did it. Makes sense. Walk over and sit right at the bars and just kind of like reach in and gently like tap him in a way that he's familiar with me.
Oh shit! You hear the rustling of chains as he falls off the bed onto the floor.
It's me.
Oh.
Can you even hear me?
Huh?
Can you hear me? How loud do I have to? I'll just keep raising my voice until he can hear me or not.
Oh. Jester! Hey! This is dark. Like, even for me, dark.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's only gonna be for the night. We're leaving tomorrow to go find this cave to stop the screaming. One way or another.
It's really loud. Like, really, really loud.
I know. You're close. That's why it's loud. It might get louder.
It's also not alone.
So I've heard. Can you tell me what's there?
Almost. Those that would call themselves friend.
They warned me about that. We'll have to be careful then.
The hood just shakes up and down as he nods his head.
Do you want me to sing you a lullaby?
Yeah. He climbs back up onto the cot and brings his knees up to his chest and wraps his arms around them. As you sing, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I will use the actual, I'll spend a willpower and use the actual gift lullaby as I sing to him to try to put him to sleep and maybe give him some relief from some of the screaming and other voices.
As you bring the power of the spirits into you and relay the gift in song, he just slowly slides down to a horizontal position. And after a few moments, you hear heavy, deep snores, but amongst the snores, you hear chortles. But he's asleep. With permission. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, get up and quietly leave.
With permission to access Shrieking Caverns. With the petition being signed. With the warning of the incoming Black Spiral Dancer threat given. Half of your mission is done. Possibly, even though it's hard to believe, the easiest half. For the real danger awaits the cavern. The real danger that sounds like that is where we take our break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of tonight's story. St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaboration with our partnered vendors, Chromatic Creations, Panchi Artista, Ember Fox Dice, Champs Tramps, and Howl and Hop Tea. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpbynight.com. You can follow St. Pete by Night on all socials with the hashtag St. Pete by Night. If you wish to support our programs, you can do so at ko-fi.com/St. Pete by Night to help keep the stories rolling. Welcome back, everyone. As we return in the second half, we find ourselves at a very expected location for those who have been longtime viewers of the show. We find ourselves at the Armature Works. Now, the Armature Works is a repurposed trolley warehouse that was once servicing trolleys of Tampa quite some time ago, but now has been repurposed into a community gathering place, a place where people go to shop, where they go to learn, where they go to just be amongst other human beings and individuals. But on this particular evening, it's not humans that are congregating here, but the creatures from beneath the veil, from behind the masquerade, from in the world of darkness. As Aspen and Jason Dreams and Decay Thorn come to the Armature Works, expecting to meet with Edward Baitman, the then true Prince of Tampa. Now, they've dealt with Baitman before, establishing the treaty, receiving their first offering of iron to help combat the situation. But that iron has diminished and run low, and they're going to need a whole lot more to accomplish what needs to be done. So, you've arranged the meeting at your favorite meeting room, Aspen, in the Armature Works. And as you arrive before the meeting, you and Jace stand outside of the meeting room, preparing to enter in, but you have a few moments between the two of you before you meet with Edward.
Aspen is just kind of clutching the wheel, waiting to get out, to get into the building. Silently looking over at Jace, trying to compose herself.
Jace looking around the area, taking a few deep breaths, looking over at Aspen. You good? You ready?
I have to be.
You got it, okay? Just another day at the office. It's just the whole world's riding on it. That's the only thing you gotta think about.
Oh, good. That's super helpful. Thank you, Jace.
Okay, you know what you're doing, right? It's easy talking, working out the overall details. You're just at work.
Yeah. And, you're ready for this?
As ready as I can be. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna look her in the eyes and use a will, get mind speak prepped so he can speak to her during the meeting. And then within her mind, think, is it working? And keeping eye contact with her. Do you hear me in here?
Yeah.
I figured it'd be a way for us to communicate without communicating if something goes awry in there.
And, you know how to kind of navigate these things, right? You're great with spirits, but I want to make sure you're not going to, no offense, Jace, but say anything stupid.
As long as they don't say anything stupid first. No,
They're absolutely
try.
going to say something stupid.
I've dealt with things similar to this in the past. Not necessarily with leeches, but I've been at sit-downs meetings and stuff of higher powers as far as like territory and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna treat it like that. I'll sit there and listen until I need to say something, and if I don't have to say anything, awesome. But I'll keep an eye out for different things going on. With that being said, can I take a quick look around using penumbral senses, seeing if there is any type of spiritual anything lurking around?
Sure. Activating your second sight, you spend the willpower to cause the image to blur, your vision to blur, as the photo negative that is the umbra overlays your vision of the real world. Looking beyond, you see the structure that is the armature works. In its antiquity and age, it has left an impression upon the umbra. You can see the interlocked weaving webs of the pattern spiders that are often responsible for such structures and creations. There are spirits here, prevalent, present, though most of them seem to be spirits of technology, spirits of the Weaver, those that maintain the order of the place. You can see some other spirits, those of the wild, occasionally passing through, lingering nearby, from the water down below of the river walk, spirits of fish, up in the sky, spirits of birds. Even the water itself is comprised of spirits, as all things are. Looking around, nothing seems out of place or amiss. There is definitely an uncomfortable absence located within the armature works, almost as if a force is keeping them at bay from approaching that specific location.
He'll look over towards Aspen. Overall, I'm not seeing anything totally out of the ordinary. With that being said, he'll look towards some of the more outskirts. I'll keep an eye out for anything. Do you want a signal or something if something does happen?
I think that's a good idea. Maybe scratch your arm. Just don't do it, without actually having something happen.
Okay, I can do that. Before we go in, though, I did a little bit of. I know you said don't, but the area where the bar sits, I'm able to pick up some things. He might try and push us further out to gain more when we go in there. But he's losing people. And some aren't just like leaving overall, they're wanting to turn almost traitor against him. I wanted an ace up our sleeve for this. This is the most I was able to get as far as going into here. But he is on his heels right now. So if we're going to make a push, I think this would be the time.
We also have to act like we're losing in this.
Correct.
And we can't give him any information that could give us an upper hand.
Okay. I'll follow your lead on anything that happens in there.
Okay. Real quick. We're friends, yeah?
I'd like to think so.
That conversation we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to at least get some things off my chest so I can focus. The person you were talking about is really sick. And I don't think I have the time to make things right before, well, bad things happen.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We talked about honesty and not running away from problems, and seems to be my MO. I figured we've talked about it, and gave me perspective, and it's been on my mind heavy, and I don't know, didn't really know who else to talk to about it.
When brought to a crossroads that you're at, it's hard to navigate as far as where you should go. Where's your heart leaning to?
I want to do something. I want to say something. I want to, I don't know, selfishly have closure. But we have so much. I can't just leave now. I feel like it would be abandoning you guys in this situation. And it's not like we have time on our hands.
The world has terrible timing when it comes to things like this. Your relationship that you had with them prior, was it a strong one?
Yeah.
Sometimes being with isn't always being with. Those connections can be strengthened even from distance. Going there and taking care of that would leave us at a huge deficit. But mending bonds that have already been pre-existing, even with a few words, can help with the feelings you're having. And if you're having the constant conflictions, just do whatever you feel is right. Okay? It's going to seem like a selfish act, I know, and one of the things that I myself am working through is trying to make the right choices and not doing things for reasons that aren't going to benefit others in the long run. Try and use that as a guide to dictate which path to take at this crossroad. I wish I could tell you which road to take and which one would be the best one for us here and you, but I can't make that decision for you. And if someone else puts that onto you and says you have to take this path and it doesn't bode well, it can cause overall resentment for the current and the past feelings that have been there. I'm glad you told me, though.
It's not the only thing that's been on my mind. I also have a person that I cared about back there coming to Florida.
Which part?
Here. Specifically to work at the university.
He just has this look of trying to stay straight faced, but a worriedness casting over his face. How soon?
Beginning of the year.
And the hits just keep coming.
Something about that past and past mistakes. Something. I don't know. You're much wiser than I am.
It depends on the subject. With my current acquisition that I got, I'll do my best to keep an eye on her. Just get me what you can. And then I have a lot of work that I'm trying to do as far as that end. But I'll keep a close eye on her. What does she do?
Teaching, university. I know that she doesn't do what I do, so that makes things a little bit, I guess, I don't want to say better, but, more neutral. But not having access to somewhere she's going to be constantly. And she wants to live close by.
That has its own pros and cons.
Well, if she's within the territory.
I don't foresee a way of trying to navigate this in there to make this any better. He won't give up that university.
I know. I have a thought.
Okay.
There's the University of Tampa close by the other side of the territory. Not taking away the university that they already have. And this makes me feel icky, but distraction from one university to another. Under the guise of you give us things and we can expand your territory.
It might work. With someone that sits so high, trying to show that he could have more might actually aid in this, keep him grasping at straws. I'm also not a huge fan of it, but I see your logic in it. And if I were to put myself in those nasty shoes, it'd be a hard thing to pass up on. An extra area for his exploratory needs.
It's awful, and I hate that we have to give him anything, really. And I know that there's the selfish part of it on my side, which makes it even more awful. But it's something to offer, something to give. And with my place being close in that territory, I could potentially try to keep an eye on it. But I'm already stretched pretty thin as it is.
Yeah. Has Artie provided any insight? Have you told Artie?
Yes and no. He knows that Shannon's coming. I haven't given all the details. I've still been dealing with all of it in my head. I probably wouldn't have even told you at this point. If it weren't for what we're doing right now. No offense, but
Not taken.
I want to. I'm going to, and he knows that I've been getting calls, but not what those calls were in regards to. Especially with the holidays, it just seems, and Piney Point coming up just seems like a lot.
Don't let the little things add up, though, because then they become more overweighing than what's currently there. All right, Aspen, what is it that you want to do? It sounds like we're going to be bringing up expanding his territory. In the exchange of iron, so I'm understanding this correctly. Give him that, we get iron.
And in officially starting the treaty indefinitely, Mia. I have other offers in my back pocket, but I'd rather not use them if I don't have to.
Okay. Yeah. We can broach the subject without that prior. How long has he had her?
Mia? Oh, I think coming up on over a year. 2. It's hard to tell. So many things have happened in such a short amount of time.
Wondering if we can push the idea that he's had this thing long enough for him to play with. I don't want to treat her like a toy or some possession, but using terminology that might be akin to them.
I don't think that's going to matter much. He knows what she means to Jester, or he wouldn't have kept the quote-unquote toy for this long. He seems like a man to get bored quickly.
Is there anything that you need additional from me? Anything you want me to bring up to... I don't know what I can offer, but if you think of something, I don't want the sacrifices to be one-sided.
I don't want to give anything that would hurt anybody else or make anything else a problem, especially when it comes to what we're doing here. Anything that I think anyone else could offer would be a detriment to us as a whole. But what I need from you, he is one of the only people that can get to me in a terrible way. And I need, I guess, support to keep me composed. Also, he has I don't know how to put this nicely. I don't even know if I should. A gross friend that seems to have quips ready.
Okay.
Seems to be his right-hand man at these things, so.
All right, understood. At that point, he'll say it in her head, that's why I'm in here. Try and keep you calm.
And if you feel the need to say anything, just make sure you're not giving more than you're getting.
Got it.
So, as the two of you climb out of Regina, faithful Jeep, closing the doors, you begin the walk up to the armature works. Along the long cement sidewalk, approaching the multi-tiered building. You see that it's very quiet, but it is also later in the evening, which is unsurprising. End up taking the staircase to the second level where the conference rooms are. And outside of one of the conference rooms, you see armed security waiting nearby, as well as Mia, who stands by the doorway, giving the most placid smile possible. Mr. Bateman's waiting for you. She goes to open the door and hold it open for both of you.
Thank you.
Give a slight head nod and walk in.
Pass by, Mia closes the door behind you, remaining outside. Inside is a long wooden table, multiple chairs lining the table. You can even see one of those conference speakerphone boxes in the center for making calls, as well as a pull-down screen for projectors. But none of that is as eye-catching or important as the two individuals already seated at the table. If two things could be completely opposing, opposites in every possible way, these two men. For one of them is more than conventionally attractive. One might even say they are stunning. With their slicked back black hair, their finely tailored custom suit. Like Charles and then some. He has an almost olive-toned skin, a really finely clipped goatee surrounding his mouth, and his lips are already upturned slightly into a smile. This is Edward Baitman, the thorn in your side, and the now Prince of Tampa. Next to him, however, everything that could go wrong in a person's life, and then some, as Masterson, the man with a face of ruin, long pointed ears, and a bald head, wearing just a dark black hoodie zipped up. No fine suits, no class or style, function, obscurity. As you enter, Bateman stands from his seat, but Masterson remains seated, his long, almost bony fingers with extended fingernails just steepled in front of him. But as Bateman rises, he says, "Ah, Miss Weiss, you're looking especially predatory today. It suits you." As you hear that, you feel that rage inside of you, this new rage that has started to inhabit your body ever since the encounter at Christmas. Bateman extends a hand to the two seats across from him. "Please, I see you brought your rodent of a friend as well. Good, we're on equal footing." He sits in the chair.
Aspen will sit, just smile politely, but there's a bit of malice in that smile as she sits.
Make eye contact with Bateman, pull the chair out, and then keep eyes fixated on Masterson as he sits down.
Masterson's eyes are a very unusual and difficult thing to look at, as they are pools of white, but they look sickly, constantly red tinged, and there is a yellow iris around a pinpoint pupil. They're cold, they're lifeless, but they're so calculating. Masterson doesn't move, almost like a gargoyle perched in his seat. He doesn't even breathe. Doesn't pretend to be something he's not. Doesn't blink. Doesn't even twitch. Whereas Baitman, the picture of life, control, dominance, opens the conversation by saying, "So, Weiss, you called this meeting. What Tampa do for you?"
Well, this is the conversation I'm sure you've been waiting for. To extend the treaty indefinitely. And how we make that happen.
Why the change of heart? You seemed so resistant to the idea.
Still resistant. That hasn't changed. But I think at this point, a truce is what we both need, is it not?
Need is a funny word. Funny thing. Why do you need it?
The same reason we've needed it. Temporarily. We need what you have. We need iron to keep this city safe. I know that doesn't mean much to you, but it does to us. And I'd be willing to make a deal with the devil to keep this city safe.
Miss Weiss, don't even begin to assume you know what matters to me. This is my city. I do care about its safety. But you're right. Treaty would benefit us both. And I have what you need. I even brought it with me. Make sure a smooth and easy transition could take place, because as much as I love these little get-togethers, I'm a very busy man with many things to do.
I'm sure of that.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, in exchange for more iron, the treaty continues indefinitely.
Indefinitely, as you wanted. And also, your city stays safe because of us.
I have a small caveat. As you know, I have said that any of my kind that you find outside of our bounds is fair game. To assure my confidence in this treaty, if I have proof of one of yours violating the treaty, they are to be handed over to us without question. As we would do for you.
By what omission? By whose authority?
yours and mine as those that represent our separate interests.
Then how do we make that happen, Mr. Bateman? How do we decide whether it is hearsay or it is fact? Innocent until proven guilty. As we've said before, the only thing that we've made completely sure is that if they're in your territory during a certain time or yours in our territory, that is cause for execution on the spot. Hearsay, that's a little more complicated.
We are both arbiters of law, Miss Weiss. If you think that I would allow simple hearsay to be enough. No, I am talking about proof, evidence. Either of us has evidence of wrongdoing by the other, and I mean true evidence, then they should be handed over without question.
So by those parameters, just to make sure everything is clear, since we don't have a written statement, as that would be foolish for both of us. If they're in your territory during the times they're not supposed to be, if they go into said buildings that you've already established, if they harm yours within your territory, those are what we're speaking of, correct? Breaking the treaty.
Correct. But I think it would be even more beneficial for both of us if we extended that to anyone who might threaten the treaty. We don't want war, especially considering all we're dealing with.
What is your definition of all that would threaten, Mr. Bateman?
Sending in agents, others to do their dirty work. If we can gain proof to the meddlings of the other, it extends to that as well. See, I've been made aware that I've had a little bit of a rodent infestation as of late. I'd hate to learn someone was going beyond their means.
But they did not threaten. Is that
Define
correct?
threaten.
Did they cause any harm? Did they threaten any harm? Did they threaten anything?
I think stepping foot on another individual's property looking for clues and answers, trying to gain information as to the weaknesses of that property.
Well, I think that's a little bit hypocritical. Don't you think, Mr. Bateman? You know so much about us, and I assume it's not through your own eyes.
But that's where the proof comes in, isn't it? We both have our means of finding out the truth,
But that would
learning what
mean
needs to be learned.
But that would mean that we would have to trust that neither would be manipulating proof or truths, which I know for a fact Mr. Bateman, that is your expertise. Why would I agree to such a thing?
That admiration in your voice, Miss Weiss?
Whatever you think it might be, Mr. Bateman.
Very well. If you believe that is unmanageable by your side, then I won't push. After all, it is hard to teach an old dog new tricks, isn't it?
Well, I believe it's a fallacy on both sides. Old dogs, new tricks. You seem to be an older dog than I, so it goes both ways, does it not?
I suppose I'll just take care of it myself then. It has nothing to do with it. But either way, the treaty stands indefinitely in exchange for the large offering of iron I have for you.
Before we continue, take care of what?
My rat problem.
Interesting.
Can both of you give me composure and subterfuge rolls, as you both know exactly what he could be referring to?
What rage am I?
Definitely a 2.
Both of us at 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't even want to be here, man. You want to be tearing the building down.
4.
5.
Okay. Keeping your faces a blank mask. Bateman leans over to Masterson. See to that, won't you? Masterson, for the first time, moves, his head nodding slowly. Very good, then. There's nothing else?
There is a few things, just small. I would like Mia, please.
Really?
She means nothing to you in the grand scheme of things other than to be a thorn in the side of one of mine.
She means a great deal to me. You see, I've grown rather fond of her in our time together.
As a child becomes fond of a toy.
What do you have in exchange? Because she is my favorite toy, as you put it. And therefore has great value to.
Absolutely. Would not want you to throw a tantrum. I think it would be fair if I extend your territory a significant amount of blocks west. Your southern territory.
How far west?
Well, it couldn't overlap. I do still have to do business, and my business is quite close to the territory, but enough to rub shoulders.
The issue with territory, Miss Weiss, is you're responsible for taking care of it, protecting it. I'm pretty comfortable in the amount of territory I have and the responsibilities I have. That's almost like an extra burden upon me. Now, it's one that I'm willing to shoulder, of course, but I don't know if that's enough for me to part with one of the only joys I have in this world.
Sure, you have plenty of joys. But it would also keep your city happy, would it not? More room to stretch their legs.
They have plenty of room to stretch their legs, they just have to not get caught. A very valuable lesson for my kind.
I think it's a very valuable offer for your people.
Is a very valuable offer, but I don't know if it's valuable enough.
Well, this is a meeting after all. Offer, counter offer, so on and so forth.
You said this word that took me back. Have. Just like need. You say you have to do business. But do you?
I do.
Why is that?
We still need our livelihood after all. I mean, I may not be as old and as powerful as you in your high tower like a beautiful princess, but I do need to make a living.
Have you ever heard of diversifying your assets? A talented young woman like you has a lot to offer, I'm sure. But you're in my playground. And as much as we can make niceties about not getting in each other's way, a deal I heard all about, by the way.
You're welcome.
How do I know that you won't get in my way again? As long as we're in the same business, conflicts are sure to arise.
This is true, but I always thought you as somebody who enjoys a challenge to keep things new, to keep things fresh, to keep things exciting. And let's be honest here. There's not any others quite as challenging to you as me.
Make a very valid point. But I also love conquest. What else do you have to offer? Besides, Tampa isn't the only place with land that I can invest in. I've found some very appetizing properties in Ohio. Some that could use my benevolent sponsorship, a soup kitchen perhaps. If I need land, I can get it.
but not as sweet. Not as you said in your conquest, as a conquistador. Maybe that's what we'll call you. Land here. Land you say you care so deeply for. Ohio's not what you want, or else you would have already made it happen.
Who's to say I haven't?
But again, another reason, another ploy to push us, to push our buttons. But it does no good for you. It just pushes buttons on this side. Which, if that's fun for you, then I understand. But it's not getting you what you want.
It actually is, Miss Weiss. It gives me a sense of security. Because while your word, I'm sure in your mind, should be enough, I don't think you speak for all of yours as well as you think you do. And I need to make sure my interests are safely guarded. I don't need someone dredging up the past because they have a bone to pick, an itch to scratch, something they believe they need to do. I know
I'm
how
scared.
strong you and your kind are. But I think you need to be aware of how influential my kind is.
Not scared of us, huh?
He's comfortable. No, he's not scared. He's nice and content.
Of course. I take care of my people. And in turn, my people take care of me. They listen to me. I listen to them. And when I say something can't be done, they listen because of respect, not because of authority.
You say so. But unfortunately, that's not enough for me. What else? Weiss?
Let's reevaluate your not enjoying a challenge. It's a big ask. And I won't just close shop. But I can make sure you don't have to deal with me or anyone under me or within my confines. And as far as our businesses go. But that's much bigger than just Mia. We have access to your buildings. Of course, not under your time frame after dark. That would be foolish of us. But access.
Are you thinking about going back to school, Miss Weiss?
It's always good, as you said, to teach a dog new tricks.
There's another university in town, and one across the bridge. Why do you need access, if not to spy and stir up trouble?
I said nothing of the university. I said access to your buildings.
Oh, I'm very aware. Anywhere you could go could become a headache for me.
Well, for example, while researching while taking care of what you say is a city you care for. A few of my people needed to investigate an area within the Hard Rock, and they were not allowed access, and that hurts our work here. And if we are having a treaty, we of course want to be open to taking care of the city together.
Not allowed access. They didn't ask. And I've found that buildings that your people go into tend to be left a tremendous mess. I'm pretty sure they're still scrubbing down the walls. The fairgrounds. I don't need that in my building.
Mia, access. I leave you alone. I think that's a fair trade. And to that point, we won't be interfering in your precious businesses. Just access.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, all I'm getting out of this is your word that you aren't going to interfere with my business.
We're going on an awful lot of words. Trust.
Yes, but I'm giving you something tangible. Not a concept, not an idea. I'm giving you something that actually belongs to me.
And I'm giving you something that belongs to me. It may not be tangible, but trust me, it means just as much.
He then looks over to Jace. Does it?
I think she speaks for herself in that her passions lie within what she's talking about, and she's willing to give that up for the thing that you own.
Does she speak for you? Because this isn't just a deal between me and Miss Weiss. This is a deal between our two separate sides.
If she says that we're not to meddle in any of your affairs, then that be the case.
Aspen, go ahead and make a charisma and persuasion. Yes, you can add your favor. Yes, you can add beauty.
Seven.
Very well. The girl, in exchange, and access, in exchange for the expanded territory, and you staying out of my yard. But the access comes with a condition. I think I'm going to have some visitor attire created. Your people have to wear it. when they visit. Don't need anyone losing their head, making a mess.
I think that's fair, but I believe I will make it.
I think jewelry is the best. And if it's not the kind of jewelry you know I'm thinking of, it won't work. I found there's only one thing discreet that reliably works with your people. Silver. To be worn during all access to my buildings.
You were
I'd
asking
hate to
us.
resort to fire.
You were asking us to wear a silver bracelet. Yes?
I would have gone with a harness, but I suppose a bracelet would work.
Easy enough.
Very well. He actually leans over to the desk and pushes on the button for the intercom. Mia, would you come in here? A moment later, the door opens and the young woman strides in up to Bateman's side. Yes, Mr. Bateman? He'll be going with them.
Before we make the exchange, can you make sure there's nothing in her head that you've put there? I know that's something you do.
I can't take away her thoughts of adoration towards me. Or her respect for me.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. You can make people do things or think things.
Now this changes the terms of the agreement we just made. You didn't ask for a reset Mia or a squeaky clean Mia. You just asked for Mia, so I'm giving her to you as she is. If you want, I could happily reset her. But that's going to cost extra.
Don't you, you're giving your precious prized possessions to others, say a phone. Don't you factory reset it to make sure there's nothing on it you don't want?
This isn't a phone. And there's nothing she carries with her that I'm afraid of losing.
What else would you like, Mr. Bateman?
While he's contemplating Jace within her head, can our potato friend possibly help?
Back in his head. He's better with formulas. I don't think he does this.
Okay.
I want a few more buildings.
Which ones?
Nothing you should miss. A rehab facility. A hospital. Outside of my already comfortable bounds. and a distribution center.
Which ones?
Well, there's the hospital close to my territory, which was not included within its bounds. I'd like that, Tampa General.
Okay.
And then there's a rehab facility. Far enough outside my bounds and out of your concern.
I have to know what I'm giving up, do I not?
I'll give you the name and address. And then the distribution center. It's a package shipping facility. Works with newsletters. Kind of ones you throw away as soon as you receive them. Coupons and
No, I don't think I'll make that deal. We'll take care of her and figure out what we need to do. But I appreciate it.
Very well. Mia, at this point, is looking with pleading eyes towards him. Don't make me go. Why do I have to go with them? Did I do something wrong? Unmoving, not even looking in her direction. He says, "You're going with them. That's final." In response, she merely parrots back, "I'm going with them. And that's final." Was there anything else?
No, I think this treaty is well established, and we will move forward within the bounds that we've created.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
Good. Then you will find a trailer to hook up to that ride of yours, containing 1,000 pounds of iron. I believe that should take care of the problem.
I believe so. It's very altruistic of you as someone who cares so deeply for the city.
Well, since you were incapable of making it work with 100 pounds, I figured add another 0. That usually solves the issue.
It does help immensely, because doing the work to save the city, to help the city, does take trial and error. But you would know that because you care so much.
This is my trial. Let's hope it's not an error.
Let's hope.
And I believe our business is concluded. He stands up. Masterson stands up as well, although a little bit more hunched. He looks over towards Mia. Stay. And then goes to leave. As he steps out of the door closing, you hear a whimper coming from Mia as she stares at the door. She can't move, even though every muscle in her body looks like it wants to go running after him, but something is keeping her in place. Just the 3 of you now. Alone in the room.
Aspen will take 3 deep breaths. Close her eyes. Open them. Think about throwing the chair. And turn to Jace.
I get it now.
He's awful.
And he likes to push those buttons.
Yes, but there are a few things that we have found out, and we can talk about it more. Obviously, I don't know what's here.
Or over there. I'll look over towards Mia.
Right.
Why did you do that?
Because I know you don't understand right now. It's all very complicated, but that's a bad man. And I know you adore him so much, and I understand that as well. But he is an abusive man, and we're gonna get you help.
Took care of me. Treated me well.
I understand that. Even somebody who takes care of you and treats you well can be horrible to you without you noticing.
Now what? Am I your prisoner? You ruined my life. Don't you
Liberated.
get that?
We'll get it squared away. I know you're upset with me, but I need you to come with me and to let me help you. And I'm gonna use Gaia's candor to kind of get her to pay attention to me and listen to my words and try to convince her to come with us.
Okay. What's the roll for that?
I add my honor to my charisma persuasion.
Go ahead. Give me the charisma, persuasion plus honor. I will say this doesn't fall under your favor, but you can add beauty to it as well.
$11.
She just falls quiet. She reaches up to wipe away some tears in her eyes. Are you gonna ship me off like the others?
What others?
My friends that Jess broke out of jail.
We didn't ship them off.
Really? They're not in another country somewhere?
We can talk about that more. And also, not fully.
Fine. Help all you want. One way or another, I will be back with him again.
I understand why you feel that way. And I'm sorry that what we're doing feels like a betrayal.
You were building something. Something all your people do is destroy. All Jess does is destroy. The power plant.
What were you building?
Doesn't matter now.
It does. Because if we can, maybe our goals align.
We were building a future for a city that has been crumbled under an oppressive thumb. This is a city of the future, not of the past. Like they kept it for so long, watching it rot, fester. What Edward wanted was prosperity, success. Not to just be an airport and a pass through to the beaches.
I don't understand. I guess I know so little about him. And she looks over at Jace with another kind of twinge similar to the conversation in the car of, I feel awful and gross doing this, and looks back to her. How was he trying to build it? Because we're neutral with each other, but we're both trying to build this place up, and I'd love to know what his goals were.
Sure you would. But I've said more than enough.
Mia, think of it this way. Edward is building something. We're trying to protect it. We have to work in tandem to make that happen.
Edward's not the monster you think he is. But all those people that you just fed to him, the monsters get access to those now too. And they will take them because of you. He was keeping them in line. He was keeping them contained. And now you have given them more room to play. Think about that. Was that worth me? All those people. You just gave them more to feed on, to take. I hope it was worth it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. And there's a lot to that, more than maybe even you understand, but I'm sorry. And I hope to make it up to you.
Then let me go back to him. You want to make it up to me, you can do it right now.
I can't do that, Mia. I can't. Because I have to... I've got to make it up to her, too.
This would have been a whole lot easier if she died in that explosion, too.
You don't get to say that. You don't get to make those choices. I don't get to make those choices, Baitman.
You made those choices! You bargained for my life! Me! Like I'm a product! Why do you get to do it?
I wish I could explain all of that to you, Mia. I really do.
Yeah, well, keep wishing. What do you want from me now?
To come with us.
She goes and waits by the door.
You need a second in here?
No. I just... It almost feels like every time we do a good thing, it just feels so awful.
Sometimes the right choices don't feel like it when they're happening. And I'm right there with you right now. I'm trying to practice what I preach, because the fact that we did just give up all those people. But there might be the benefit is hopefully going to outweigh this. We said they may continue to make those right choices.
And we had to lose.
We did. And we did lose a lot. But we have 1,000 pounds of iron. We got Mia. Not a total loss.
I just have to hope that the people we save because of this is something.
He'll reach forward and put his hand on his shoulder. We'll take care of it. Okay? Once we've gotten all this other shit dealt with and we get it all, I won't say completely ironed out because our life,
Don't
but a few of
make
these
jokes.
mountains that are here, we just got to keep going over them. And then we'll take care of the hills.
Yeah. And we'll figure it out.
And this is where our story comes to a close this evening. The pack has 1,000 pounds of iron. What will they do with it, and will it be enough? And yes, they got Mia. But at what cost? This is the end of our story, except for 2 final scenes. Our first scene takes us back to Virginia. A dark valley shadowed by the mountainous peaks around it. Here, the wall of the canyon looks like it has been overgrown over time. Boulders larger than a man lean up against a passageway that has been collapsed in. The overgrowth on the boulders are vines that break out of the snow and seem to have sealed over the boulders, holding them in place, as if nature itself is trying to protect it, or possibly keep it in. And then we find our dear Aspen's cell phone. It rings, and the familiar name Son comes up on the caller ID. And when the ringing stops, one new voicemail pops up. This is where our story ends for tonight. Thank you to these amazing players. Thank you to everyone watching at home. Thank you to our incredible guests, Nicholas and Knack, who will be joining us again next week to follow up on that Virginia mission. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of the social media and come join our community by following that Discord link. And this Friday, we have a new episode of Hellhounds. Hellhounds is back, and then we will be back next Tuesday with another episode of Rage Across Tampa. For these amazing players, I'm Kent. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production, produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Dark Pack. Visit our website at stpetebynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become part of our community. Thank you for listening, and until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.